computer and live transcript. All right. Who has tried the job one sample? Yes. Okay. A, who loved it, just the workout and her in general. And then the music was good, killer. Like she was killer. I was like, because when it was like 20-minute workouts, immediately you're like, I don't know. And man, like even just after the band moves, I'm like, holy, my arms are on fire. Like this is going to be good. Yeah, she did not mess around. So super excited about that. But we are going to dive in. I'm just going to take off my watch here. Okay. My sister was stuck at home because of the snow and she's done CrossFit for 6 years and she loved it. That's awesome. That's awesome. Oh, okay. Sunday, November 21st. This is our final Sunday November team call. So next week we don't have a team call. It's US Thanksgiving. So we're taking that one off. And then Virginia is taking over for December. So I want to flip my screen and share something a little bit different with you guys. So I'll flip this over. I'm not going to go into presentation mode because sometimes it messes it up. But those of you that can you see this if you're not like driving or anything? Yes? Okay, awesome. And you can hear and see me okay? Good. Thanks, Britt. I can see you. If I freeze or something, let me know. And I'm recording, right? Yes. Let me just double check. Recording. Yes. Okay. So in the past two calls, we talked about, a lot of business stuff, a lot of different things. And today I was like, you know what? I want to go over, because I've been doing this for 8 years now. I want to go over a couple things along my journey that have made a really significant impact. Like I sat down and I literally thought about what I could remember when I was brand new, leading all the way up until today. And I thought of about 16 different things. So if you're taking notes, you can number them. But I wanted to walk you through kind of these pivotal moments and think, okay, if everybody on the call today could even take away one of those things, like you can't do all of them, one of those things and implement it at whatever stage they're in, that's going to be worth it. That's going to be golden, because we're all at different stages. You might relate to the first few things I talk about because you might be a brand new coach, or you might relate to the very last few things I talk about because you've been doing this, say like Virginia, for 7 or 8 years with me as well. So I just wanted to walk you through a couple of the key aha moments for me that have made the biggest difference. And most of them are small things, but I hope you can relate to them a little bit too. And I just put this reminder again, no call next week because of US Thanksgiving. And if you're ever wondering, oh my gosh, where do I find these calls? Remember, if you just go to Facebook and go to the Success Clubbers group, which any coach is welcome to join, my coaches, your coaches, your coaches' coaches, and right at the top, you'll see November team calls, this post. That's going to come down after November, and Virginia is going to put hers up that looks like this. So it'll always be pinned to the top. So the December schedule will be there, and then all the recordings are in the comments. So super easy to find. So I just wanted to show you that. And I put a little reminder here, stay close to the fire. Does anybody remember when I said that in our very first November team call? Stay close to the fire. And that's just a reminder. Stay close to the fire means stay close to these team calls. Stay close to the national wake-up call. Whenever I feel myself maybe drifting or not feeling as inspired, it's often the times where I'm not listening to the national wake-up call every week, or I'm not plugging into these Zooms every week, whether it be live or the recording. And I'm like, that's why I'm not feeling super inspired. That's why I'm not feeling part of the community, because I haven't been plugging myself in. Maybe that involves you checking into your challenge group, right? So stay close to the fire means stay close to us, stay close to the community, because it makes a world of a difference. So here we go. This is my flow. And I have this on the next screen, so you can screenshot it if you want, but there's about 16 different things, different seasons, different I don't know what you want to call them, like aha moments that I've gone through that have made a really big difference. And I truly think have helped me not only grow my business to what it is, but also grow as an individual. Because I signed up to be a coach when I was 23 years old, knowing absolutely nothing, feeling a little bit lost. And Beachbody, the community, the experience, everything I've learned has helped me grow as a human being. So let's dive in. This is one of my favorite pictures of all time. It was on our Beachbody cruise. So I don't know if anybody's going to the Success Club trip coming this spring. That's what this was. It was one of the Success Club trips, and we were on a cruise, and this was after a workout. So, all right, let's dive in. Number one, I did what the training told me. So I looked back when I signed up to be a new coach. I'm like, okay, what was going through my brain? Literally, you guys, the only thing going through my brain was do what the training told me. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what the potential was, like literally nothing, not a thing. Didn't barely know how to log into my online office. But I'm like, hey, Morgan, you are teachable. Other people have done this. Like, you're a good student. So just do what they're telling you to do. So if you're a new coach, that's what my advice would be to you. Don't worry so much about the outcome. All I did was watch the trainings and I did it. I didn't think too much about posting or, the outcome of those things. I was just like, hey, this is what they're telling me. I'm going to do that. Okay. So, and if questions come up, feel free to throw them in the chat too, and I can answer them after. Number two, after I kind of had some trainings under my belt, I set up a work binder and a planner. And I've showed you guys this before. You remember seeing my pink binder, quite a few of you. So I got a pink binder and a day planner. So the day planner was just scheduling out my months, when my challenge groups were, etc. And then I got a pink binder because I was always on the go. I was working in the car. I was working at work. I was working wherever I could. So I'm like, I need something where I can just grab it and go. So I got this pink binder with loose leaf and dividers, and I broke it up. The very first page was my daily to-do list. The next section was my goals. The next section divider was my contacts. And I was just writing on loose leaf and highlighting and crossing out. And then I had like my challenge group section. Then I had my coaches. I think I had those. And then I had my income. And then I had my expenses. So I could just pick this pink binder up and go work anywhere. So that was the next thing that really made a significant difference for me. And I feel like once I had that, I felt more legit, if that makes sense. I felt like, okay, this is my business binder. And I also felt like I wasn't wasting as much time, having notebooks or day planners or everything kind of everywhere. I had one place where I had everything and I could just pick it up and go. So that was the second thing that really made a difference for me. Number three, I was always doing a program myself. So when I signed up to be a coach, I had never completed a program from start to finish. I had done them, Turbo Jam, Turbo Fire, Chalene Extreme mainly, but the day I signed up to be a coach, I had never completed anything start to finish. So I was one of those people. Yes, I had a love for Beachbody already, but I was one of those people that signed up to be a coach and joined my first challenge group at the exact same time. So my first program I completed was Body Beast. And after that, I just rolled into different programs. 21 Day Fix, 21 Day Fix Extreme came out, and I rolled into different programs that I was completing start to finish myself. And what I learned was that's when my business thrived the most, but also when I was the most motivated. And a couple months ago, I tested this out. I forget which program I had just finished. Maybe it was Let's Get Up. And I'm like, oh, Morgs, like you're just going to take a couple weeks or a month to just do whatever workouts you want. I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea. I've been doing programs for so long, start to finish. Let's just, look around and do whatever I want, which there's nothing wrong with that. That's what I'm doing with Body right now. But So I tested that a couple months ago and it sucked. I'm not going to lie. Like literally the first couple days, my motivation went from up here to down here. I woke up not knowing what workout I was doing. So I wasted at least 15 minutes every morning trying to find a workout. I couldn't decide what I felt like doing. I'm like, oh, cardio, weights, stretching. And I just lacked a lot of motivation when I did that. It's not bad right now because again, I'm testing out BODi, so it's fun trying out different things. But when I was doing that a couple months ago, just with BOD and it just didn't work great for me. So I found when I'm doing programs start to finish myself, like my motivation was just high, and then my business inspiration was high. I was just, when you like have a crappy morning with your workout, like it doesn't load or you don't know what workout you're doing, like it just ripples into the rest of your day. When I have a workout calendar, everything just seems to flow a lot better, not wasting time, all of that. So that has been big for me. And at the time, we only had fitness programs. Now, obviously, this would ripple effect into like To Be Mindset, Portion Fix in the new year, To Be Pregnant, the three-week gut protocol, right? So there's lots of different ways to do this. And then number 4, this was huge for me as a new coach. I planned weekly groceries and meals. So again, we did ultimate portion. To Be Mindset didn't exist. I think Portion Fix kind of existed with the 21-day fix, but I was living with my parents at the time. And literally, you guys, this was my biggest fear. Oh my gosh, I'm moving back in with my parents. I'm going to put on so much weight because they're going to be cooking for me. I'm not going to know what I'm eating. Like I was really nervous. So funny because that year with them, I actually got in the best shape of my life because I was doing the workout program and I also took control of my food. So I asked my parents, I said, hey, can I make our supper plans Monday to Friday? If I like pick the recipe for us, like you guys make it or I make it, but I'll go get the groceries so we all know what we're having for supper each week. They're like, yes, that's fine, Morgan. So I would print off my 21-day fix, like grocery list. It's separated by, fruits, vegetables, like the containers. And then I would print off like a meal plan, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, what we're having for supper. I'd write out the groceries, go get them on the weekend, bring them back home. And then also for like snacks and lunch, because I was teaching at the time. And that was game changing. I tried so many different healthy recipes, which I kind of wish I could go, like, I don't do a lot of that right now because we have a little more freedom in the meal planning area, but that was huge for me. And I wish we had stories at the time because we only really had Facebook posting at the time and I didn't share a ton about it. But I feel like that's the piece that a lot of people love to see and are missing out on is like, I want to see more of, what other people eat and recipes and meal planning ideas. So back then I was on point. I did that for at least a year and it made a significant difference for me and just built my belief up in myself too. I can be planned, I can be organized, and I can get results with nutrition, right? So that was number 4. So I was doing what the training told me. I had my work binder set up at this point. I was doing programs. I was planning my weekly groceries. This was probably about 6 months into coaching. And number 5 is morning routine. So kind of around that 4-month to 6-month part of coaching, I started to figure out a morning routine. So what I tried to do when I was a new coach, I tried to wake up early to do my workout, then go teach all day, then come home and do Beachbody and also see Steven, see my parents, go to bed. I tried it and it was super frustrating because it wasn't working. I would come home from school and my brain didn't work great. I was distracted by my parents. And at that 4 to 6 month mark, I'm like, hey, this routine isn't working. So what I decided to do was swap it. I decided to wake up early and do my Beachbody work when nobody was awake yet. I'd go to teach all day. I'd come home and do my workout in the like later before supper. and then kind of just go see Steven, get ready for the next day. So I wasn't a morning worker outer for probably the first 3 to 4 years I was a new coach, because it didn't work for me. I could come home from school and like burn off steam in a workout. I'd have, at that time, I don't think we had pre-workout yet. I think we had like the old school E&E from like P90X. It was kind of like a pre-workout. So I'd take that on my way home from school, get the workout done. So once I developed that kind of routine that worked for that season of life, things started to flow a lot better. So that was the next thing. Number 6 happened about 6 months into coaching, probably as well. I was starting to get consistent with monthly challenge groups and monthly kind of new coach trainings. So when I started coaching, I ran it kind of started as 2-month challenge groups. Then I moved to monthly, maybe around the 6-month part, because it just made things easy for me. Every month I knew I was inviting to one group. I would back it up, 2-3 weeks, start inviting then, because that's how long conversations took. I could time it out in my day planner. And I had every single month without fail, I ran a challenge group. And then I also ran something where I invited like people to become new coaches. So from last month's challenge group is often where I got my coaches from for the next month's challenge, for the next month's kind of coach training. So that was kind of my flow. And that really started to get going around that 6-month mark. And it was just easy. I didn't have to think about it too much. It's like every month I have a challenge group time, and they don't start on the 1st. They usually started like, just depending, usually like the endish of that month. It was just a 3-week group, but it didn't have to start like on the 1st of the month. And then I would invite challengers from last month's challenge group to become coaches, and then kind of transition that way. So once I got that flow going, that's when my business really started to get going. I wasn't struggling as much to hit Success Club anymore. I was having a couple new coaches each month. They saw what I was doing. They started doing their own monthly challenge group. So that kind of ball sort of got rolling around that 6-month mark. Number 7, in-person events I was going to, and I was also hosting. So this happened, I'm going to say around 8-month to the year mark. I started attending some in-person events and also hosting some. So hosting, I actually they weren't anything big. I hosted my own Super Saturday with 5 people. And I also hosted a fit club once a week with my girlfriend at a local school. We'd project the workout onto the projection screen, and we'd have 8 or so ladies come out once a week. And it was our weekly fit club. And then in-person events, that was when I went to my first summit when I was about a year-old coach. My first Success Club trip, probably when I was about a year and a half old coach to 2 years. And those were super nerve-wracking at first. It was just me, and I knew a couple other people. I think our team had 4 people go to that first summit. The first Success Club trip, I knew nobody except a girl that I met online from Florida. So they were nerve-wracking at first. And I would get there and be like, oh, that's so-and-so, that's so-and-so. But it was pivotal because it made me realize, whoa, this is legit. My parents would laugh. I'd say I'd be flying to the States for this trip, and they're like, are you sure this is real, Morgan? Are you sure? You sure? So, I go and I'd be like, it made this business seem so much more real, and all the people and the live workouts. And I'm just it made it seem so much more real. So if there's ever a Super Saturday in your area or a big event starting here again, get your booty there. I would drive in snowstorms to Winnipeg for Super Saturdays when I was a new coach. 5 hours just to go to like this 3-hour event, because it's different. If some of you have been to them, being around those people just makes it real. And if you're this type of person, do your own local thing. Do a little fit club or a little coffee and work date or whatever in your community, or meet outside and go for a hike or whatever it is. I think those in-person things really locked things in for me and started to create some friendships. Okay, so number 8, a down payment on our first home. So this happened around the year and a half mark. So after university, Stephen and I couldn't afford a house. So he moved back in with his parents and I moved back in with mine. And with our lack thereof income at the time, we were both like, I don't know when we're going to be able to afford a house. So we were both kind of stressed. And that was the time I actually did start coaching. And I was like, I set a goal for myself. I said, you know what? I'm going to pay, because he had already invested all his money into the franchise business. So like investing into a house wasn't in the cards for him. So I was like, you know what? I am going to earn enough as a Beachbody coach to put the down payment on our new house by myself. And that was a goal of mine. And it took me a whole year and a half. Our first home was like 700 square feet. I think I needed a down payment of like $10,000 or something. And I was able to do that myself. My parents still had to co-sign because we didn't have like income to back it up for the past years. But that feeling, because I know my older sister couldn't do that herself. So she was like the first one I knew that bought a house, and like my parents had to give her the money, blah, blah, blah. But like when I was able to be like, I have the down payment for our first little house, I'll never forget that feeling, and I'll never forget that house. And that was something, again, that just made it seem so real. That was like, wow, if this is possible, like, let's just keep going and see what else can happen. So that was a big moment for me too. Number 9, hired a house cleaner. So this happened when I was a coach for probably 3-ish years already, maybe 4. Maybe I was thinking about doing it for a year, and it took me a year to actually do it. My next investment I wanted to make with my Beachbody income, I said, I wanted to hire a house cleaner. I don't really like cleaning. I didn't have time. It stressed me out, me and Steven, because it's like, who's doing the cleaning? And I'm like, this is what the next thing I want to invest into. And Steven was really against it at the start, but I'm like, I'm doing this. So I hired our first house cleaner, and he ended up loving it. And we've had one ever since. And it's been one of, I know it seems sometimes menial, but like, it's been one of the best decisions we've ever made. So if that's a goal of yours, I honestly recommend this. I've convinced every one of my family members almost to get a house cleaner. If that's something, set that goal for yourself. And again, we're not even talking business here. Like, this is just life, but it maintains your home. It takes stress off your family. It made mine and Steven's relationship better. So again, that was something I really had to work towards to be able to invest in, but hiring a house cleaner has been a game-changing decision for us. So that was number 9. Number 10, I decided to cut back on one of my jobs. So I was a full-time teacher. I was also working at our franchise store, helping Steven, almost full-time as well. And I was a Beachbody coach. So 3 years into coaching, I want to say, or 4, I decided to not take on a full-time teaching job anymore, but I decided to pretty much substitute teach full-time. And that did give me a little more freedom, because there was the odd day where I wasn't teaching. So I could work on my business maybe a little bit more, or whatever that may be. And then I think year 4-ish or 5, I still subbed that year, but I didn't sub as much, maybe part-time. And then maybe around year 5 or 5-ish, 5 or 6, 5, I decided to take myself off the substitute list and just work at our store full time and Beachbody coach. And then I didn't stop working at our store until I had Ella. So after I had Ella, then I stopped working at our store. I still go in the odd time, but not that often. So that was a big pivotal point, and transition as well. Number 11, I hired an assistant. This didn't happen till I was probably 5 years into my business, and it's kind of looked a little bit different, but I decided to hire an assistant in the beginning, mainly just to do recognition graphics. So I would make all the Success Club graphics, everything myself at the start, which was fine. But once our team started to grow and it started to take me a little bit more time, that was one of the first things I hired an assistant to do. Do you need this? Absolutely not. But that was something I did. I've also played around with, I made a website once, don't have a website anymore, didn't pan out. I've had an assistant try and help me with like Facebook ads back in the day. Didn't really end up working out. So I've dabbled with a few things, but hiring an assistant down the road might be realistic for you once you get to a certain point as well. All right, number 12. This happened probably within the past 2 years, two years to 3 years. So it took quite a while, maybe 6 years. Yeah. Began investing income. And this I do have to credit to Stephen a lot because he started to develop a passion for this. It's not a strong area of mine. If I was just me right now, all my Beachbody income would probably be still sitting in a student savings account at our local bank because I unfortunately am not super educated in this area. I'm pretty smart with money, but basically I was raised like don't overspend. And honestly, you want to hear a funny story? I got a credit card in high school or when I was going to university, and my mom taught me like just pay it off every month. I'm like, yeah, great, fine, that's easy. And in university, I had girlfriends that were like going on trips and stuff. And I'm like, girl, like, how are you affording to go to Mexico for the week, like over break? And she's like, oh, well, like use your credit card. She's like, you can pay it off like within, whatever the year. I'm like, shut the front door. You don't have to pay off your credit card every month. Like literally, you guys, I was in my first year of university and I didn't know you didn't have to pay off a credit card every month. So that was kind of my knowledge in that area. But around that, 6-year mark in coaching, Stephen started to get a little bit more passionate about investing. So the income I was earning with Beachbody, we started to get a lot smarter with it. Okay, is it going into tax-free savings accounts? Is it going into RRSPs? Is it going into the stock market? Is it going into a high interest savings account? I say this because this piece is what's going to bring you and your family freedom. If you are a Beachbody coach, just you're bringing in the income and you're spending it. You're bringing in the income, you're spending it. If that's why you started this in the first place, that's perfect. A lot of coaches, honestly, they just want to be coaches to cover the cost of their Beachbody products and have some extra spending cash. That is perfect if that is you. 110%. If you're somebody that's like, hey, I want to earn an income and I want to take that money and I want that money to make me money. So in the future, so I have even more financial freedom, that's where the investing piece starts to play a role. Okay. Again, this is something where once you get to that point, you're probably going to want to talk to an accountant or something like that to figure out, okay, how can I best use this money to give me more financial freedom, use my money to make me money down the road. Okay. So that has been the biggest piece for sure lately. Because it's funny, you'll see coaches in the Million Club who are struggling financially. You'll see coaches who you think are earning a lot in this business who still have debt. And then you'll also see coaches who earn way less, who have zero debt and a lot of financial freedom. So it just depends how you utilize that money, right? Okay, number 13. This didn't happen until 1 year ago. Therapy. I see a therapist. It depends. I wanted to go monthly, but like, it just depends. Maybe it's once every 3 months or whatever. I wanted to do it for about the past 2 years. Never did it. Couldn't set my ego aside, couldn't pull the trigger. Every single podcast I listened to was like, go to therapy, just like you work out and eat healthy to be preventative, you should go to therapy to be mentally preventative. Finally, I told myself, Morgan, it was October of last year. I said, you need to book an appointment by the end of this month. I booked an appointment on the 31st. I went to a therapist twice. She was okay, just wasn't my jam. Tried somebody else. She has been gold. Why did I start going to therapy? Not necessarily because anything was wrong, to be honest. That's like telling people just work out once something's wrong or eat healthy once something's wrong. Nothing was wrong, but I had this inner desire to continue to grow as a human. Like, I want my marriage to grow and get better. I want to grow and get better. That's to me what life is about. Like, I don't care to stay exactly the same for the rest of my life. Like, I want to learn about myself more and grow more. And that means seeking a professional, right? So that's been one of the most gratifying things I've ever done. And I go into each session literally having zero clue what we're going to talk about. Like, I almost cancel most appointments, and I go in there and then I leave and I tell her, I'm like, you brought out in me exactly what I needed to talk about that I didn't even know I needed to talk about. Right. So good therapists do that. So that just started this past year. Number 14, also just started this past year, more emphasis on my relationship. So if you're more spiritual, the book called Marriage on a Rock was phenomenal. The reason I wanted to put more emphasis on my relationship with Stephen in the past year was because I was finding if my relationship felt rocky or we just weren't getting along great, it really impacted my business and how I showed up. I struggled to put posts up. I struggled to do team calls. I struggled to talk to customers and coaches, because you guys know, if you have a spouse, if you don't, that's totally fine. But if you have a spouse, if you're not on good terms, it's tough, right? It's tough to run this business because it is very upbeat and positive. And so I was like, you know what? I really want to work on my relationship. And that's I've talked about it to my therapist. I read that book, and it's just little things, me putting in a little bit more effort every day. Trust me, this is something I'm very much so still working on. But that's made a big difference this past year too. Number 15 also has happened within the past 6 months. So this has taken 8 years, you guys. Past 6 months, being on more of a spiritual journey. So I've been just pulled to read more faith-based personal development books, and just believing that it's not all on me has been really refreshing. So I'm still a newbie in this area, but that's something that's kind of happened within the past 6 months. And again, this took me really setting my ego aside, because I never saw myself as this person. So that's been the past 6 months. And then the last thing has been just the past 4-ish months. So again, took almost 8 years, is planning to live a little more freely. And what I mean by this is, I became a coach 8 years ago with the long-term mindset of, hey, if this could help me have a little more time freedom, in the future, like work a little less as a teacher, like that would be ideal. If my kid is sick, I can just have the day off, or if we want to go on a trip, like it's no big deal. And that was kind of my mindset. And if I'm being really honest, for the past 8 years, I haven't lived that way a ton. I really, really love this business. I really love this platform. I really love what it's done for me and what it can do for other people. So I do love doing it every day. Obviously, I have my crappy days like everybody, but I really, truly love doing this every day. But I said, okay, Morgs, you're having your second baby. It's time to live in a way of why you started this business in the first place. So starting December, I am planning, and I've set in place to live a little more freely, to not expect myself to do all the little things every day. I'm going to be on our team call every Sunday, and I'm going to connect with my personal group chat. And that's kind of all I'm going to expect of myself for a couple months. I've put I've given power over to other leaders, and they run this business even better than I do. So that's kind of been my plan, and that's taken me 8 years. So that's just kind of feels good too, to give myself the permission to be able to do that as well, because I've never have done that. And that's my plan there. So that's kind of my flow from what I felt as a new coach to how I'm feeling now as an 8, almost 9 year in coach. And I was just thinking, I'm like, okay, well, what could I sum this down to if you were to, remember one thing? And this has been my mindset for 8 years. Put in the work and don't worry so much about the outcome. If I'm being honest, I've never been a super big goal setter or vision person. If I'm just being brutally honest, I struggle to create vision. I struggle to create goals, but I'm really good at just doing the work and trusting that it'll pay off. And that's kind of what I've done for 8 years. And I think that's interesting because now I understand that faith component. I'm like, that's almost what I always had. I'm like, hey, just put in the work and you'll be rewarded. It'll pay off. And that's kind of how I ran this. And it's kept things really simple for me. I'm not necessarily setting myself up for any certain expectations. And I'm, really pleased with how things have worked out. Have some things not worked out? Absolutely. But in the trend, in the long term, when I look from year 1 to year 8, yeah, there's been a lot of ups and downs, but the trend has been really great, gradually growing a business, gradually growing as a human over these past 8 or 9 years. So, I can't wait to do this again. This was a local meetup we did at my house. Kirsten, if you can see, was pregnant with her first boy. So it was a while ago. So I just want to thank you guys for spending November with me. I'm going to just stop this share, quickly look if there's questions, and then we can log off. So Nancy asked, hired an assistant, what do you have them do? Like I said, it kind of was just graphics, but it's really whatever you're willing to give up. But again, I didn't do that until I was ready to invest into that. How long did it take you or other long-term coaches here to build momentum to get from your first challenge groups to being able to run full groups successfully and even have people interested in coaching? I'm worried about the beginning, only having 1 to 2 people in a group, and how to keep excitement with only a few people. We all start with 1 to 2 people in a group. That's how we all start. And don't worry so much about the outcome. Just do the thing. Host the challenge group with 1 to 2 people. Do your best. If some of them turn into coaches, great. If they don't, who cares? Run the next challenge group. Some challenge groups I had 15 people, and some challenge groups I had 2. right? And as you get into this more and people start to trust you more, you'll probably be more consistent with having, 10 people a month or whatever it may be. But we all start with a few. And again, don't let that worry fear you, right? Well, every month I was like, oh, am I going to find people to join my challenge group? And I always did. But yeah, don't worry about the conversion. Just give them the best experience possible and go from there. Credit card stories. Oh man, that's hilarious. Jen said, I think year 3 or 4, I hired my cousin to do my leaderboard graphics. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, good. So it's a little different of a call, you guys. I hope that was helpful. Sometimes it's just nice to hear somebody else's journey and what made a difference for them. And again, you might be at a stage where you can only relate to number 1 or number 2 on that list, right? That's perfect. You might be at a stage where you relate to number 14 or 15. That's great too. And not that you have to do any of these, but those are just some things that made a really big difference for me. So again, no team call next week. The first, Jen will have her own schedule up. And of course the diamond call is the first Sunday of every month. So I think that's it, you guys. Let's have an awesome week. Those of you in the US, have a good Thanksgiving. We'll have an awesome job one launch because it's just, oh, it's going to be bomb. And that's about it. If you have any other questions, tag me in Success Clubbers. I'm more than happy to answer anything and everything. All right. Okay. See you later.